My mom asked me to forgive my uncle just for one dinner. Now I know he paid her to keep quiet about what he did to me. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I haven't been home for Christmas in over 6 years. The last time I stepped foot in my childhood house, I slammed the door so hard that the glass in the hallway mirror cracked. My mom cried like I was the one who broke her, and I left without a coat, in the middle of December, shaking with rage. Last week, she called out of the blue. Her voice was soft, fake casual. "Chloe, honey, listen, we're having a small dinner next Saturday, just the family. I know things have been complicated, but I really think it's time you let it go." I didn't answer. Then she said the one thing that still makes me feel sick: "Your Uncle Thomas will be there. But he misses you, you know. He always asks about you. Maybe just this once, for me, you could come and be civil." Civil, with the man who touched me when I was 14. That's what this story is about. Not the abuse, but everything that happened after. The lies, the silence, the betrayal, especially from the people who were supposed to protect me. 'Cause until last week, I thought my mom just didn't believe me. Now I know the truth, she believed me. She just took his money to stay quiet. The thing about trauma is that it doesn't scream all the time. Most days, it just hums under the surface, quiet and sharp, like a splinter you never managed to pull out. That's how I lived for years. I moved cities, changed my number, blocked half my family, and told myself I was healing. But when my mom called me last week, it was like someone pressed play on a tape I didn't know was still loaded in the back of my head. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept hearing her voice, so calm, so practiced. "Just this once, for me." I don't know what made me do it, but I dug through an old box in my closet the next morning. Inside, under college notebooks and old concert wristbands, I found the letter I had written to her when I was 17. It was handwritten, 4 pages long, with every detail I remembered. What he said. What he did. How I froze. I had left it on her pillow after I ran away from home the first time. I never knew if she read it. Now I do. Because on Saturday, 3 days after her call, I drove to the town where I grew up and parked 2 blocks from the house. I had no intention of going in, I just needed to see it. To remind myself why I left. I sat in the car for a while, engine off, heart racing like I was being chased. Then I saw him. Thomas. My uncle. Her brother. He walked up the driveway with a bottle of wine in one hand and a red envelope in the other. I watched from behind tinted windows. He looked older, heavier. But still smug. Still comfortable. Like someone who's never known fear. He rang the bell. She opened. They kissed on the cheek. He handed her the envelope, she smiled and tucked it inside her cardigan. It was such a quick motion, so practiced, I almost didn't register it. But I did. He brought her an envelope. She took it like she was expecting it. I waited until the door closed, then drove away. Straight to a bar where I drank 3 gin and tonics in under an hour. Then I called my cousin Leah. She's Thomas's daughter. We hadn't talked in years. When she picked up, she sounded surprised. "Chloe? Oh my God. Are you okay?" I told her I needed to ask something. One thing. And I needed her to be honest. She paused. Then said, "Okay." So I asked. "Did your dad ever give money to my mom?" Silence. Dead silence. Then, almost a whisper, "You know?" I felt my heart squeeze. "Know what?" And that's when she said it. "After you left, he gave her something. A check. I wasn't supposed to see it. But I did. It was in her purse. It said for Chloe's education. But you never went back to school, right?" No. I didn't. Because I ended up in a psych ward 2 months later. Because I tried to overdose on sleeping pills after no one believed me. Because my mom stood by the man who abused me and told everyone I was just acting out because I was jealous of his attention. Now I knew. She knew. And she took money from him anyway. Maybe to keep quiet. Maybe to make it all go away. Maybe just to survive. I don't care what the reason was. All I know is this: she didn't protect me. She sold me out. And now I had to decide what the hell I was going to do with that truth. I barely slept after that call with Leah. I just kept replaying those words in my head, you know? That instant drop in her voice, like we both finally acknowledged something that had been rotting between us for over a decade. And the way she said it, said for your education. Like that would somehow make it noble. Like hush money wrapped in good intentions was anything other than betrayal. The next day, I called my mother. I didn't plan it. I just picked up the phone and dialed. She answered on the second ring. Chloe? She sounded hopeful, as if she thought I was calling to say I'd come to dinner after all. I saw him give you the envelope, I said, my voice shaking. Don't lie. I was parked outside. Silence. I know about the money, I added. Leah saw the check. Still no response. Just this thin, stunned silence. Then, finally, she exhaled like I had knocked the wind out of her. That was a long time ago. I was a kid. You were supposed to protect me. Her voice got defensive, brittle. You don't know what it was like. You think everything's black and white, but it's not. We had bills, your father had just left, and I was. I don't care. I screamed so loudly I startled myself. I don't care if we were living in a tent. You took money from the man who molested your daughter. And then, the words I'll never forget, he promised he didn't do it. And I needed to believe him. I hung up. I didn't want to hear her justify it. Not another second. Not another excuse. Not another twist of the knife wrapped in motherly guilt. I sat on my floor for an hour after that, my head in my hands, trembling. It wasn't that she doubted me. That would have hurt, yes. But this was worse. She believed me, and still chose him. She needed to believe him, not because it was easier, but because it was more convenient. Because if she admitted what he did, she'd have to confront everything, her complicity, her cowardice, her failure. But the next move wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. So I called a lawyer. Not because I wanted money. I didn't want a cent. I wanted exposure. I wanted paperwork. I wanted to find out if the statute of limitations was really over. I wanted someone to officially write down what he did. I wanted the story documented, even if it was too late for justice in court. The lawyer was kind, direct. It's difficult, she said. But if there was a financial transaction meant to suppress testimony, that could be something. Especially if your mother confirms it. I laughed bitterly. Yeah. Good luck with that. But I still gave her everything. My letter. The timeline. Screenshots. Dates. The call with Leah. I even wrote down exactly what I saw from my car, the red envelope, the quick motion, the way my mother slipped it into her sweater like she'd done it before. The lawyer told me it wasn't nothing. Even if the legal route went nowhere, I could still go public. Anonymously, if I wanted. At first, the idea felt toxic. Like airing out shame. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, it wasn't my shame. It never was. It belonged to them. To the man who violated me. To the woman who protected him. To the family who looked away. And if speaking could keep even one other girl from being betrayed like I was, then maybe it was worth it. I wasn't sure yet. But something inside me had shifted. I wasn't the scared 14-year-old anymore. I was the adult now. And they were the ones who should be afraid. The first person I told, truly told, was my friend Nora. She and I met in college, and even though we'd grown apart over the years, I always knew she was someone I could trust. She's the kind of woman who listens with her entire body, who never interrupts, who doesn't flinch at pain. When I told her what my uncle did, and what my mom did after. She didn't ask "Are you sure?" or "Why now?" She just said, "What do you need?" It hit me like a punch to the gut. No one had ever asked me that before. Not once. The people in my family had only ever said what they needed: my silence, my understanding, my absence from gatherings, my forgiveness. But now, I had a choice. And what I needed was to stop feeling like I was the problem. So I asked Nora to come with me to see Leah. In person. We met at a cafe halfway between her town and mine. She arrived early. When I walked in, she stood up, awkward, nervous, clutching her tea with both hands like it might burn her if she let go. "I'm sorry," she said, before I even sat down. I didn't know who to believe. I nodded. "But you saw the check." She looked down. "Yeah. It wasn't the only one." That stopped me cold. "What?" She hesitated. I think he gave her money more than once. I remember a few times when Mom would get envelopes too. She used to say they were family gifts, but she always hid them. My stomach dropped. He paid multiple people? Leah just nodded, like she hated being the messenger. "I think he bought everyone's silence." I sat there, silent, as the weight of it sank in. My entire childhood felt like it was collapsing in reverse. Every birthday, every holiday, every time someone told me to smile around Uncle Thomas like nothing had ever happened, because to them, nothing had. Because it had all been bought and buried. I could feel the rage bubbling in my throat. But then she added something I didn't expect. "My mom regrets it," she said. She cried when I confronted her. She said she thought it was a one-time thing, that he was drunk, that your mom promised it would ruin everything if we talked. That word again. Everything. As if I was the one who would ruin things by speaking. I clenched my fists. Why didn't anyone check on me? After I left. After the hospital. Leah looked at me, eyes wet. "We didn't know. She told us you were angry. That you hated the family. That you wanted attention." "She?" I asked. "My mom?" She nodded. So not only did she sell me out, she rewrote the story. Painted me as dramatic, unstable. The difficult daughter. The liar. And no one questioned it. I left that cafe more shattered than I'd expected. I thought confronting it would give me strength. Instead, it felt like scraping at a wound I'd never allowed to scab. But I also felt something else underneath it: clarity. I knew what I had to do next. I was going to write it all down. Not just for the lawyer. For me. For the truth. For the girl I used to be, the one who thought no one would ever believe her. This time, I would tell it all. No more secrets. No more protecting anyone. No more quiet. I didn't sleep the night I came back from the cafe. I sat at my kitchen table with an old notebook, writing until the ink started to bleed through the pages. Every word came out fast, sharp, ugly. I didn't bother editing. I just let it spill. What he did. What she did. What they all pretended not to see. I wrote like it was the only thing keeping me alive. By 6 a.m. I had 23 pages filled. I took a photo of every one, converted them to PDF, and emailed them to my lawyer with the subject line, "In case anything happens to me." I know that sounds paranoid, but when your entire childhood was built on lies and hush money, you don't trust silence anymore. That morning, I made one more decision. I posted the story online. Anonymously, yes. But publicly. I chose a survivors forum, not Reddit, not some scandal blog, just a space where people like me shared their truths. I didn't name him. I didn't name her. But I described the betrayal, the money, the manipulation. I included the red envelope, the hidden checks, the way I was made to feel like the villain for trying to survive. And then I logged off. I expected nothing, but within hours it had gone viral inside that space. Hundreds of comments. Dozens of messages. People saying, I believe you. Your story is mine, too. You're not alone. Some even recognized the patterns. Someone messaged me, was it a small town near Limoges? Because this sounds like what happened to my cousin too, 20 years ago. Another, he taught at my school. My best friend tried to tell her parents. Same thing. Silence. Money. My chest tightened. This wasn't just me. Thomas wasn't a mistake. He was a predator with a system. And my mother wasn't just weak, she was part of the system. I wanted to throw up. So I called the lawyer again. I asked her what would happen if other victims came forward, if people started naming him. She told me that, combined with financial evidence and corroborating testimony, we could at least build a civil case. Maybe more. But here's what I didn't expect: 2 days later, someone leaked the story. Not just the anonymous post, my name. My face. Someone from that survivors group sent screenshots to a cousin of mine. He posted it on Facebook. Tagged my mom. My uncle. Me. And just like that, the silence exploded. I got over 150 messages in 2 days. Some from old classmates. Some from complete strangers. Some from people I hadn't heard from in years. Most of them said the same thing: I'm sorry. I didn't know. But one stood out. It was from a woman named Sophie. She wrote, "You're not the only one. He did the same thing to me when I was 15. I thought no one would ever believe me. But I remember you. You were always quiet. I should have said something then." That's when I started crying. For real. I wasn't alone. And I wasn't crazy. Now the story wasn't just mine anymore. The days after the leak were chaos. My phone buzzed nonstop: calls, texts, social media notifications, emails from journalists. People from my hometown suddenly had opinions. Some apologized. Others denied everything. A few relatives I hadn't heard from in years sent me passive-aggressive messages like, "You didn't have to ruin the whole family just to feel better about yourself." But the most surreal part? My mother. She didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't even try to deny it publicly. She stayed quiet. Until Tuesday night. I was brushing my teeth when my phone rang. I saw her name and froze. I didn't want to answer. I wanted to throw my phone in the sink and pretend she no longer existed. But I picked up. She didn't even say hello. "You've humiliated everyone," she snapped. "Do you know what you've done to this family?" I didn't answer. I just listened. She went on, "Your uncle's being investigated, your cousin Leah won't speak to her own father, your grandmother cried for 3 hours." Good, I said. She should cry. You all should. There was a silence. And then she said it. The thing I had always feared was true. I did what I had to do. We couldn't afford to lose everything. "Your uncle, he said he'd help. It wasn't supposed to go this far." I laughed. It came out sharp, bitter. "You mean, it wasn't supposed to come out? That's what scares you. You're twisting everything," she yelled. "You never think about anyone else." "I was 14, Mom." I screamed back. 14. And you chose your brother over me." More silence. But this one felt different. Heavier. I heard her breathing through the line, shaky. "I didn't know what to do," she said, her voice suddenly small. "Your dad had just left, we were drowning, and Thomas, he offered help. He made it sound like it was nothing, like he'd made a mistake and it wouldn't happen again." "But it did happen again," I said. "To other girls." That broke her. I heard it in the way her breath caught. In the way she finally stopped defending him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. But it didn't feel like enough. It didn't even feel real. Because sorry doesn't undo years of being cast as a liar. Sorry doesn't erase the hospital stays, the nightmares, the shame. I don't forgive you, I said. I don't know if I ever will. And I hung up. After that, things moved fast. 3 other women came forward. One of them was barely 18 now, which meant her case was still within the statute of limitations. Thomas was placed under formal investigation. My story made it to local news. Then national. I was offered interviews, podcast appearances, even a book deal. I turned most of it down. I wasn't doing this to be famous. I just wanted the truth out. But something else happened too, something I didn't expect. People started sending me letters. Not just survivors. Mothers. Sisters. Even former teachers. One woman wrote, "My daughter went through the same thing. I told her to stay quiet. You made me realize I was wrong. Thank you for giving her voice back." That one gutted me. Because deep down, I still wanted a mother like that. One who would say, "I believe you," without conditions. One who would protect instead of bargain. But maybe I never had that. Maybe I had to become that, for someone else. And honestly, maybe that was enough. The court process was brutal, even though I wasn't the one pressing charges. I was listed as a supporting witness, since my case was too old to prosecute. But I still had to testify. Still had to sit in a room with lawyers and clerks and recount every sickening detail. Still had to see his face, even if only in photographs on a legal file. He pled not guilty, of course. Claimed it was all lies, conspiracies. That I was a troubled girl with a vendetta. But the other girls spoke. One of them, Sophie, the one who messaged me, was barely 19 and brave as hell. She stared his lawyers down and told them exactly what he did, when, where, how. She cried once. Then wiped her face and kept going. I was in the back of the courtroom that day. And I don't know if I've ever felt prouder of another human being. My mom wasn't there. She'd sent in a written statement. 4 pages long. Half apology, half excuse. I didn't know what else to do, she wrote. I wish I'd been stronger. The prosecution didn't bother using it. They had enough. After 6 months, the court ruled in favor of the plaintiff. Thomas was sentenced to 4 years. Not enough. But something. He was ordered to pay compensation, and for once, it wasn't a check that bought silence, it was a penalty that marked guilt. He walked out in handcuffs. I didn't cry. I thought I would. I thought I'd feel lighter, cleaner, safer. But I didn't feel anything. Not yet. Later that night, I sat on my balcony with a blanket over my legs, watching the city lights flicker and blur. Nora was inside making tea, humming something soft. She'd stayed with me the entire week, never asking for anything. Just being there. "Do you feel better?" she asked when she came out with the mugs. "No," I said honestly, "but I feel finished." She nodded, like she understood. I didn't know what would happen with my mother. We hadn't spoken since that call. Part of me didn't want to ever again. Part of me still wanted to scream at her, make her feel what I felt. But mostly, I just felt tired. Exhausted from carrying the silence for so long. The next day, I received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. I knew it was from her before I even opened it. Inside were 3 pages of apologies. Rambling, guilt-soaked, defensive and desperate, but at the end, she wrote something that stuck with me. "I understand if you never speak to me again. But if I could go back, I'd lose the house. The money. Everything. I would have stood by you. I would have screamed." I folded the letter and placed it in the same box where I kept the one I wrote at 17. Side by side. The daughter who begged to be believed. And the mother who finally admitted she failed. I still didn't know what forgiveness looked like. Or if I even wanted it. But I knew I had something now I didn't have then. My voice. And no one was ever going to take it from me again. It's been 9 months since the sentencing. I wish I could say I feel whole again. that justice healed everything. That my relationships magically mended, and my sleep came back, and the weight lifted off my chest. But healing isn't a movie montage. It's slow. Messy. Sometimes I wake up feeling powerful. Other days, I still feel like that terrified girl sitting in the hallway outside my mom's room, waiting for her to believe me. Some things did change. Sophie and I talk weekly now. We check in, swap stupid memes, talk about therapy. She's starting school in the fall, wants to study law, says maybe she'll help people like us one day. I believe her. My sister Leah, she's trying. We had a real conversation a few weeks ago. No denial, no excuses. She told me she hated herself for not seeing it sooner, for not pushing harder when she did. I told her I didn't need her guilt. I just needed her honesty. And this time, she gave it. My mother hasn't called again. Sometimes I catch myself hoping she will. Other times, I dread the idea. I don't know what kind of relationship is even possible between us anymore. She didn't just fail me once, she failed me over and over, in layers I'm still uncovering. Maybe one day, I'll be able to sit across from her and feel something other than fury. But not today. I've started sharing my story, little by little, under my real name. I spoke at a university panel last month. The topic was family, silence, and survivorship. I told the audience, we always talk about the people who hurt us. But we don't talk enough about the ones who stayed quiet, the ones who helped cover it with their silence. Afterward, a girl came up to me crying. She hugged me like we'd known each other forever, and in that moment, I realized something: maybe I'll never get the apology I deserved. Maybe the scars will never vanish. But I can turn this pain into something. A warning. A weapon. A voice that cuts through the dark. I was robbed of my safety. But I took back my truth. And now, every time someone tells me, "You gave me the courage to speak," I feel like I'm putting the pieces of that 14-year-old girl back together. One truth at a time. I don't know if I'll ever forgive my mother. I don't even know if I should. But I'm done carrying her shame. She made her choice. Now I make mine, and I choose to never, ever be silent again. I still have nightmares. I still flinch at certain smells. But I also have days where I laugh until I cry. Days where I walk into a room and take up space like I deserve to be there. Because I do. Because I survived. And if you're reading this, and you're still stuck in the silence they gave you, please know, you're not alone. Not anymore. I don't know what to do with the rest of this pain. I don't know how to rebuild what they broke. But I know one thing: I believe me now. And maybe that's enough to start.
Follow me for more stories.